Okay, here is today's project. Customer complained that there is a knocking coming from the front. Wasn't sure what it was. After checking it out, turns out it's one of the CV axles, the one on the right hand side of the vehicle, or as it is over here in the good old US, the passenger side. It is worn badly. Now, it's not worn like they usually are worn in the knuckle joint. This one's worn on the shaft. So let me show you that. Let me grab a light, slide my ass underneath. Give me a second here. This is a little tricky. There's my magic carpet. Oops. Let's get under this one. Okay, here it is up here. Let's see if I can show you this. This is tricky. Well, you can see the boot is split. You see that? Hopefully you can see that. Split boot. And you can hear that, I'm sure. Now, normally they'll go on a knuckle joint, but this one, well, it's a slightly different design, and it's well, it's a real pain in the ass. So now what I got to do is replace this. But the customer has decided, let's replace them both. I guess they don't want to lose the car again. But look at that. That's terrible. Now the one on this side, a little, very little, but it's beginning. So that's what we've got to do. So let's get out here and get started. Sorry about all the funny angles and that, but it's that or try and switch the camera off with an oily finger, and I don't really want to get my camera oily. Let me move this out of the way. So what we got to do is first of all take this wheel off. Now you've got to get these caps off, and I must admit I didn't initially know how they came off, so I had a bit of experimentation. However, using this little spiky tool here, hang on, give me a better angle, sorry about that. Spiky tool here, get in one of the holes, doesn't matter which one, and pry it, and then you can get your fingers underneath and give it a tug. It's not easy, and off it pops. Then, grabbing one's trusty air gun or tool of your choice, shove in a 17mm socket. Now, yes, there are 2 bolts already missing because I've had this off once, but I had to rearrange it because I got it supported in the wrong place. And a word of wise on that: do not support it on the control arm. Why, you may ask? Because, give me a second, if you support it on the control arm, which, you know, will support it, you then won't be able to do what I'm about to do, and that is to undo this nut here and push this down. You need to push this down so that you can pull the shaft out. Now, you've got to undo this nut here, and then you can push the shaft in, but you can't do it with this still attached, so you need to take this off. This is the easiest way of doing it without taking off the bottom ball joint, which you really don't want to get into. I'm also going to take off the brake caliper and move it around and hang it over this side. I don't know yet whether I'll have to undo the tie rod end. I hope I don't. I'm hoping I can twist it enough to push the shaft out. We will find out. You may ask, why am I bothering to do that? You know, the caliper doesn't have to come off. I'm also going to take the rotor off. Again, does it have to? No. Those of you that watch my channel regularly know I went in for surgery on my left shoulder. So consequently, I'm hardly fully functional, and I'm having to do this pretty much one-handed. So that's the reason I'm doing this, to get as much weight off of this as I can, so it's easier for me to handle. Simple as that. All right, so let me see, what have I done? I've already squeezed the caliper. One thing, a lot of people don't know this, and so I'm just going to chuck it out there, and if you know it, great, and if you don't, well, ho-hum. grab yourself one of these clamps, put it over here, and then in here, and then wind it. That'll squeeze the piston in. That means you can then get this caliper off with ease, well, relative ease. So you do that, and I've already done it. Also then, you remove these pins from the back that actually hold the caliper in there. Now, yeah, I'm kind of ahead of you here because I've already done it. And that you do with a, where the hell did that go? Sorry about that. It is a 7mm Allen to undo those these pin bolts. Okay. Now we should be able to, haha, he says should be, covering one's ass. Yeah, see how easy that comes off? Look at that, lovely jubbly. Actually, let me pull that. No, it's not coming out easy, good, okay. Now we tuck this, hopefully. This is the theory anyway. Maybe not, huh? Let me see. Look about the best laid plans of nieces and men. Huh? Yep, there she goes. All right, now let me get the hose through. And you can't leave it hanging on this hose. Oh, look at that. This one decided to fall out. All right, and yes, you don't leave it hanging on the brake hose because you can damage the hose. And if you don't realise you've damaged it, then guess what? You put the brakes on and sweet FA happens. And when sweet FA happens, you could die. Okay, so let me just get that around the right place. Now, some people like to use the old bungee cords on this, and that's fine. I just happen to prefer using rope because then I can get it to where I want to get it to. Whereas the bungees, you're kind of restricted. It's, you know, it's the length of the bungee. Bungee. And this doesn't take a couple of moments to do. Just a few little knots. And I'm a belt and braces guy, so I'll give it one more for shits and giggles. Okay, that is that done. Let's move that pad out of the way. Now, I have sprayed this with PB Blaster. My next trick is to get this rotor off and out of the way, so for that I will need a Phillips. Yes, I said Phillips. For fun, Phillips. Now, sometimes these don't come undone and you have to use the impact. I sincerely hope that's not the case. No, it's not goody. That makes me a happy bunny. Of course, the rotor doesn't want to come off. Look at that rust. Let's give that a quick squirt. And yes, I will clean all of this up before I put it back on. Grabbing one's trusty rubber persuader. There she blows. All right. Oh, as I'm down here, the thing you're going to need in order to remove the CV axle is the 12-point, or I believe they call them the triple square. And that's this. See how many lots of teeth it's got? Bloody stupid idea design. If you're not careful and you don't get this bottomed in properly, it will strip. And then you are really up shit creek without a paddle. So be aware of that. I bought a complete set. I have more than one customer with a V-dub. So now I've lightened this as much as I can. The only concern I have is this. Although I think that's going to be long enough, I'm just going to have to keep a very close eye on it. So next thing to do is to get this off. And I'm not sure what size it is. I think it's a 30 or a 32. So let me see. Oh, and it's a 12-point. Oh yes, you little fuckers. Now let's hope it's a 30 because that's what I got. Oh, it's a 30. Let's just see if we can get this undone. Oh boy, all right. We're gonna have to try again. Boy, oh boy, this one's gonna be fun. I may have to use a huge pry bar, and yeah, let me get to this, see what I can figure out. I can see I'll get my compressor to fire up. I'll be back in a moment, guys. All right, the way I managed to get it off in the end was with some heat. I heated up the nut. There appears to have been some, I guess it's original, like German Loctite on there. When I was heating up the nut, this stuff started to ooze out. That then allowed me to use my impact gun to free it up. So that is the method I used. You know, other methods, of course, you know, with long bars and jamming up the nuts, etc. But that's what I did. The nut is currently resting there, extremely hot, so I'm not going to touch that for a while. Gives me a chance to take a break. Well, unfortunately my camera ran out of battery, but I still had to progress. So once I'd undone the nut, swift tap with a hammer, pulling down on this came out nice and easy. I gave it some PB plaster to make it come down, and as you can see, the shaft comes out easy. That way you don't have to disconnect the ball joint. The next pain in the ass that you're going to have, and excuse me while I flip the camera in here, is getting to these fucking awful bolts. Now, a normal CV axle, you just pull it out, but no, VW decided to fuck with you. And there are various what should I call them? Screw bolts, whatever, the 12-point fuckers. And there's one there, as you can see. Another one there, which I can get to. I think there's one over this side. You can see I got to that one. I'm not going to be able to get to that one. And I think, I can't remember now whether I got to the one up the top there. No, I didn't, but I should be able to, but we will see. Hang on a second here. I need 17 fucking hands to do all this. Now, I can't show you what I want to show you. And okay, and the ones underneath there, hopefully you can see. I got to those. I'll get to that one. But, sorry about the shaking there. I'm holding it the right at the tips of my fingers to try and show you something. Oh dear, yes, wanker's cramp. Stop it, you fucking filthy bastard. Besides, I use the other hand. Oh, was it both hands? I can never remember. All right, so that's what you got to get to. That's the next trick you'll have to deal with. And it is a 10mm star point, motherfucking point, whatever you want to call it. This beastie here, yeah, 10mm. I've got the long one and I got a short one. It depends on the weather. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, I can't help myself today. I'm just, I shouldn't be doing this in all honesty because of my arm, but I'm limiting it to holding things, not stressing. So that's the next thing. I've cut part of the boot off because it was getting in my way. Then what I got a feeling what I've got to do, and this is something to, I guess, let you guys know, you need to get both wheels off the ground. I've only got one wheel off the ground at the moment. I'm figuring, yeah, no, that's no problem, but it is because I now need to turn this shaft so that I can get to the other bolts to undo it and get it off. But that I can't do with the other wheel on the ground for obvious reasons. So now I've got to jack up the other side, which I can do. It's no big deal, but I can do it. But if you're doing this on the ground, you want to jack it up and support it so that both wheels are off the ground, because you will need then to go inside the vehicle, select neutral, and then move the shaft till it's in the position you want it in, and then put it back in park. And you may have to do that 2 or 3 times on each side. A real pain in the ass, but, well, I guess that's what we get paid for, isn't it, guys? Okay, so we'll get this damn beastie out. My plan is today to get at least one side done, and then tomorrow do the other side. The other side may be easier because the bolts seem to be more accessible than the ones on this side. All right, time to end this particular section, and next picture you will see will be with this thing fucking well out of the way, but that could be hours from now for me and a nanosecond for you. So here we are. The driver's side is finally out. It's a little tricky. You have to keep turning it and undoing the bolts. And when you are doing this, do make sure you seat that socket or whatever you want. No, it's not a socket, it's a key in deeply into that bolt. Otherwise, you are going to have a nightmare. Now, people go, oh, greasing them. Well, there's nothing to grease. You know, it's sealed. It's a sealed unit. So there's nothing for you to grease. This one doesn't have the vibration damper on it. I'm assuming they discovered that was pointless. It's got a 6-sided nut, which I prefer as opposed to the 12-sided. Everything looks perfectly okay. Now, there are some people that like to put Loctite on these. I don't like to do that. Why? Because the next poor bastard that's got to get it out, if it's got Loctite on it, it's a fucking nightmare. As for the bolt, the nut, let me just check a second. I'm not sure about this one. I haven't looked at it yet. No, I will put some Loctite on the nut. Not a tremendous amount, and I will use blue. Blue is strong enough to hold this. Some people would put red on it. Red is really, for you ain't thinking you're ever going to take it off. Blue will hold it perfectly okay, especially once I've got it up to the correct torque spec. So there it is. There is the new and old shaft. Next picture will be me with it installed. I'm not going to show you me installing it. I mean, Jesus, it's easy enough to do. Well, I say easy. It's easy if you've got 2 arms. All right, so that's my next task, is to get this in. I will be cleaning up the surface. Let me just show you. It really doesn't need it, but I just like to make sure things are clean. So I will be cleaning up that surface before I progress any further. There you go. All right, let's get her in. Right, I've got the first bolt in. Now, it doesn't have Loctite on it. The reason for that is I just want to get the alignment correct. Then every bolt I put in will have Loctite, and then I'll take that one out and put Loctite on that. One of the tricks, because you're having to reach in there with the bolt on the end of a wrench, it'll keep falling off, which is really fucking annoying. And I know a lot of you will know this trick, but this is what I do. I just tape it on the end. Then once the bolt actually manages to bite, and I just pull it off, the bolt comes out, leaves the tape, and then you just tear the tape off. No difficulty with that at all. It's really quite a simple thing to do. So now let me continue to put the rest of the bolts on. I've got the first one lined up and tightened in, not tight, but tightened. So now I can get all the other bolts in and get those torqued down. All right, just to show you what you have to do, get the torque done. There's my torque wrench there, down through onto the hub nuts. Well, not the hub, the shaft nuts there. And what I'm doing is, as I do each one, I'm marking it with a little yellow dot so that when it finally comes round, I'll know I've done them all. Yes, I know there's only 6, but, I get distracted. And there's my wrench set to 52, and a couple of bolts in here and the bar to actually prevent it from the shaft from turning. I do 2 at a time, so in 3 goes it'll be done. And trouble is, I have to get underneath the car to actually pull it because the ramp is in the way, and I can't get enough leverage up here. So I have to get underneath and give it a good old tug. Right, well, I have decided to make this a 2-part video. This is going to be the driver's side, or the left, and the other will be the passenger side, or the right. One thing I probably haven't mentioned is here, this sway bar link. You really need to disconnect that on both sides, swing it up out of the way, and that's the whole point. It gets it up and out of the way. I still have only just done this up finger tight. Got a long way to go on this. No point in me showing you this. You've taken it all apart. You should really be able to put it back together. But I'll show you the other side purely because it's totally different. Now this nut here, ooh, hang on. I have forgotten what the torque setting is. Give me a second. Okay, so you have to do these bolts up to 52 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. And this nut, axle nut, you have to do up to 148 pounds plus 180 degrees. So that's really fucking tight. That's gonna be fun to do. So that's what you need to do. Don't forget to do it. Put everything back together, and then that's the driver's side complete. We will start the next video on the passenger side. And believe me, this is not an easy job. It's not terrible, but it's just getting to shit is so difficult, you know, in there. It's ridiculous trying to get to stuff down inside there. Normal, as I said before, normal axle shafts, you just undo here, move this out of the way and give it a tug. Not Mr. VW Beetle. Typical fucking Germans, over-engineered. Or think they can do it better. Well, sorry guys, you can't in this case. You do lots of good things, but this isn't one of them.